They gave us the soundtrack to our lives, the late nights, the heartbreaks, the love we never forgot. But behind the music that made us feel everything were men and women quietly fighting battles most of us never knew existed.
I was born!
Tonight's Soul Lens is pulling back the curtain. 10 names, 10 stories. 10 endings that should have never happened the way they did. And by the time we reach number 1, you're going to feel the weight of everything this genre lost, and everything it still hasn't recovered from. Stay with us. Every single entry matters. Number 10. Before we say the name, we need you to understand something. This is not a list of overdoses and tabloid headlines. This is a list of human beings. Artists who poured their entire soul into records that outlived them, and in almost every case, the world around them failed to notice the warning signs until it was too late. That's what makes number 10 so haunting. Because nobody saw it coming.
Here today.
Marvin Gaye. Wait, we know what you're thinking. You've heard this story. But have you really? Because most people know the headline. Very few people know what the final 48 hours of Marvin Gaye's life actually looked like.
Whoa.
April 1st, 1984. The day before his 45th birthday. Marvin had returned to his parents' home in Los Angeles, not as a triumphant son, but as a man in collapse. The weight of what he carried was staggering. Years of substance abuse, financial devastation, a marriage that had shattered him, and a relationship with his father, Marvin Gaye Sr., that had always been a wound that never healed.
Don't punish me with proof.
What most documentaries gloss over is the depth of that wound. Marvin Gaye Sr. was a man of severe strictness. Some who knew the family described his behavior as emotionally brutal.
What's going on?
Marvin had spent his entire career, from the earliest Motown days through the What's Going On era and right into the sensual mastery of Let's Get It On, carrying the psychological weight of a childhood he could never fully escape. By 1984, the walls had closed in. He told close friends in his final weeks that he no longer wanted to be alive. That detail isn't speculation, it was documented. People heard it. The argument on April 1st began over a letter. Marvin stepped in between his father and his mother, Alberta. What happened next ended everything. Marvin Gaye Sr. shot his son once and then again. Marvin died the following morning, less than 24 hours before he would have turned 45. The autopsy later revealed a brain tumor that had possibly been affecting his behavior and decisions in those final months. Think about that. The man who gave us Mercy, Mercy Me, who asked what's going on when the world refused to answer, died in his childhood home, in the arms of the very trauma he'd spent a lifetime trying to sing through. We're at number 10. Hold on, because the stories only get heavier from here.
So you can see what's going.
If these stories are speaking to you, there is so much more where this came from. Hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Join the Soul Lens family and never miss a story like this again. Now, back to the countdown. Number 9, there is a version of this entry that gets told quickly. A name, a date, a hotel room, a tragedy. We're not telling that version, because the quick version does a disservice to a life that was anything but quick. A life that burned at a pace so intense, so incandescent, that everyone around her could feel the heat, and almost no one reached in to pull her back from the flame. Aaliyah, August 25, 2001. Aaliyah Houghton was 22 years old. She had just finished filming the music video for Rock the Boat in the Bahamas. A visual so stunning, so confident that it felt like a declaration. Like a young woman announcing to the world that she had only just begun.
But I can't let it go so easily.
The production wrapped. The crew was exhausted. There was a charter plane waiting. And what came next is the part that should haunt everyone who was responsible for that flight. The Cessna 402 was loaded with 9 people and an amount of luggage that exceeded what the aircraft was certified to carry. The pilot, Blackwell, had a history that disqualified him from flying that aircraft legally. Toxicology later showed cocaine and alcohol in his system. These were not unknowns discovered after the fact. The weight concerns were raised before departure. Members of the crew reportedly expressed discomfort. Aaliyah herself, by some accounts, was reluctant to board. The plane crashed less than 2 minutes after takeoff. What makes Aaliyah's death particularly devastating, beyond the raw tragedy of 22 years, is the architecture of failure that surrounded it.
yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try.
The people who were supposed to protect her, to manage her, to ensure her safety, built an environment where warning signs were overridden by schedules. This was a pattern in her life, not just her death. Her relationship with R. Kelly at 15, sealed with a marriage license that falsified her age, was something the industry absorbed and moved past without accountability. Aaliyah navigated all of it with a grace and a quiet steel that earned her the title Princess of R&B. She was supposed to be just getting started. Her final 3 albums were left unmade. The films were left unfinished. And the runway she was standing on, longer and more brilliant than almost anyone in her generation, went dark in under 120 seconds. 8 more names to go. And it gets more complicated before it gets clearer.
Below, if I say no, would you turn away?
Number 8, some losses announce themselves loudly. Others arrive in silence, in a hotel bathroom, in a Grammy week that was supposed to be a celebration. The word supposed carries so much pain in this list. It carries the most pain in this entry.
So I'll go.
Whitney Houston, February 11th, 2012, the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Whitney was in Los Angeles for the Grammy Awards, a week that should have been a triumphant return. She was scheduled to appear at Clive Davis's legendary pre-Grammy party. She had just recorded a vocal with Kelly Price. People who saw her in those final days described a woman who still had the spirit, still had the humor, still had that laugh, but who also looked fragile in a way that concerned them. Whitney Elizabeth Houston was 58 inches of voice that the world had never heard before and will never hear again. We need to say that clearly. The technical instrument she possessed, the control, the range, the emotional intelligence embedded in each note, was not replicated before her and has not been replicated since. She was not just a great singer, she was the standard against which every vocalist after her was measured. The cocaine use had returned. The relationship with Bobby Brown had left scars that she carried openly. But that number deserves a pause. Number 7. What if the story isn't about a single night or a single moment? What if it's about a decade-long slow erosion, watched by an entire industry, documented by journalists, discussed in green rooms and boardrooms, and nobody did anything structural to stop it? That's the question number 7 forces us to ask.
But I know.
Sam Cooke, December 11th, 1964, Los Angeles. Sam Cooke was 33 years old and at the absolute apex of his power. As a vocalist, as a businessman, as an architect of what black independent music ownership could look like in America. He had founded his own label, SAR Records. He had negotiated deals that most black artists of his era never saw. He was building something. A movement wrapped in silk and powered by a voice that could make you feel, in the same 4-minute song, both a Sunday morning sermon and a Saturday night invitation.
And I go down.
What happened at the Hacienda Motel is a story that has never fully settled into consensus. The official account, Sam was shot and killed by the motel manager, Bertha Franklin, in what was ruled justifiable homicide after a confrontation involving a woman named Elisa Boyer.
But I know.
Boyer claimed Sam had abducted her. Franklin claimed Sam broke into the manager's office in a threatening state, wearing only a sport coat, and that she shot him in self-defense. Almost no one who has studied this case believes the official account is complete.
And I say, brother, help me.
Sam Cooke's injuries were described by those who saw his body as inconsistent with the narrative of a simple shooting. His business associates, including Alan Klein, who managed the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, believed foul play was involved at levels that went unreported. The woman Boyer herself was arrested on prostitution charges shortly after the incident. What is undeniable is this. Sam Cooke was a man who made the industry deeply uncomfortable precisely because of his intelligence and his ambition. A Change Is Gonna Come, recorded weeks before his death, was a song he hesitated to release, a song so nakedly vulnerable, so historically prophetic that it frightened him. He knew what it was, he knew what it said. The world heard it after he was already gone. 7 entries down. The weight keeps building. Number 6, some artists die young in ways that feel violently categorized. On the day of the accident, she was in a vehicle on a Honduran road. The driver legal battles, the cultural reckoning. That reckoning is real and it is ongoing. But the story of what killed Michael Jackson on June 25, 2009 is specifically and precisely the story of a man who had not slept properly in months, possibly years, and who was being administered propofol, an operating room anesthetic, as a sleep aid by a physician named Conrad Murray, who was being paid approximately $150,000 a month by AEG Live, the promoters of the tour. Read that one more time. An operating room anesthetic, administered in a private bedroom, to help an artist sleep. Paid for by the company that needed that artist to be ready to perform. Conrad Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. He served 2 years of a 4-year sentence. AEG Live was found not liable in a subsequent civil trial. Michael Jackson was the most famous human being on the planet Earth at the time of his death. He was surrounded by people around the clock. He had more resources, more handlers, more professionals in his orbit than almost any other person alive. And every single system designed to protect him failed, or was never actually designed to protect him in the first place. What was lost on June 25, 2009 is incalculable. What was revealed about the machinery behind the music was something that the industry has spent the intervening years trying very hard not to fully confront. Number 1, you stayed. We knew you would, because this list was never just a countdown. It was a question asked 10 times in 10 different ways about what we owe the artists who give us everything. Whether we see them as people or as product, whether we protect them or simply consume them. Number 1 is the artist whose story answers that question most starkly, most recently, most rawly. Because unlike every other name on this list, the full truth of this story is still being uncovered. Still being fought over, still being felt. Amy Winehouse, July 23, 2011, Camden, London. Amy Winehouse was 27 years old. We need to tumbling at Glastonbury Amy, the No Amy, has almost entirely obscured the musician. And the musician was staggering. Back to Black is not a great album by the standards of popular music. It is a great album by the standards of all music, full stop. Picture of a woman who desperately wanted to get better, who had real